You're listening to Fight Jokes About Everything, a Night Shift Radio original. For more information, visit nightshiftradio.com. Welcome to today's episode. Today we're talking about the rumor that just kind of came out. This has been a rumor for a while, but most recently in the past couple of days, there is a rumor that there is a Harry Potter live action series in early development at HBO Max. Now, this story kind of exploded over the past couple of days, but the one thing I do want to point out is that every article kind of gave you the headline of Harry Potter live action series in development at HBO Max, which is actually not the case. So basically where the story came from is somebody has essentially pitched the idea of a Harry Potter live action series, and then, somehow the story exploded and the internet basically took it and ran with it and said that it is actually happening. There is no guarantee that it is actually happening. And in fact, this could look so many different ways. So, one, they could take, some of the stories from the future, things like Fantastic Beasts, pre-Voldemort, post-Voldemort, side stories, and go off and run with it. Or it could in fact be a live action series about Harry Potter, going through all of the books and everything via seasons. So basically, Sorcerer's Stone would be one season of a show. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about my feelings about this and the way I would do this. So one, I think it's still too soon. I think it is far too soon for us to be remaking a series that is beloved as it is. Harry Potter, not without its faults. And of course, there are moments, especially in the first three or so films, that are feel kind of dated at some points. But it's too early. The films are still shown on marathons weekly on most TV stations. How Freeform still, shows it all the time. TBS still shows it all the time. Like, just people still, go through these films. And I think it's a little too early. Now, the thing is that people are starving for content as is, but the Harry Potter world, there is so much to it that they could do with it. They could run with anything to it. So they could run with the idea of one of the side characters, like Nicholas Flamel. Like, imagine an entire story about like Nicholas Flamel, concocting the Sorcerer's Stone and finding it and searching for it and figuring it all out. Like, imagine that, like the search for that. Imagine like they could go through and do the Dumbledore and Grindelwald era of, a young Dumbledore and a young Grindelwald, like, falling in love and having this, sort of belief and following the story of the Deathly Hallows. Like, there's so much that they can do with that. That being said, there are a lot of things they could do with a regular Harry Potter series that could be beneficial. One of the things that was mentioned is in the original pitch, one of the pitches was that Hermione would end up being a character of color, more specifically a black woman, a black girl, I should say. And that's great. And I'm all for diversifying that. I think there's no detriment to doing it. There's only positives for doing that. But again, the story of Harry Potter and Hermione and Ron is just, it's so fresh in everyone's mind, that there's that. Now, mind you, we're going to go off and talk about this Harry Potter world and all of this news. And I do want to point out that, of course, J.K. Rowling is a terrible human being. She is anti-trans, to a very large degree, and she has made that very public. And among other things, she's not a great person. So when I do speak of the Harry Potter world, I do very much think of it in the sense of like she's sold the brand to somebody. Like, she has sold it to Warner Media, which owns HBO Max, and we just assume that she is no longer involved nor making a penny from it, as she has pretty much sold off her rights to all of it. So that's our general assumption, which is why we will speculate and talk about this. But the whole idea of a Harry Potter live action series also sparks a lot of backlash in the sense of reboots and remakes. So, the whole idea of getting something like this, like something that is very well known, it's established. Like, if you just throw the name Harry Potter on anything, people will eat it up. So the fact that that's the case the fact that they're going for a surefire way of basically redoing the Harry Potter world instead of just creating a new universe inside of it, I understand that. I mean, like Game of Thrones is going through this right now in HBO, on HBO Max as well, where we have two prequel series, both revolving around the Targaryens, and it's kind of a gamble for them because Game of Thrones was really popular up until the last season, so it's a matter of figuring out like will these shows be popular? Like will the new Game of Thrones ones be popular? And they're like, well, we're banking on the brand of Game of Thrones to see if this works. Now, the thing is Harry Potter has already done this. The Fantastic Beasts movies, which we've seen two already, following the story of Newt Scamander. And we've had some controversy around that with Johnny Depp stepping out of the role. I've even forgotten his name of the person that's stepping into the role. But anyway, so like we've already had some controversy with that, but like Harry Potter's already done that. They've gone off and made their separate things, like the Cursed Child book series, which is terrible, by the way, in Broadway play, is out and about. It made a lot of money. The Fantastic Beasts movies, they're not great. Like, don't get me wrong. Newt Scamander is awesome, but it just jumps right back into the whole story of Voldemort again, and it feels recycled instead of just like this is just a fun adventure of this, quirky guy running off and capturing magical beasts and, hilarity ensues, which is what it should have been. The minute that it tied into, right back again to Voldemort, well, I guess it's specifically Grindelwald, but, the Grindelwald is the successor to Voldemort. It just felt like a recycle. It was like, isn't there somebody else in this world that's doing something? Like, why couldn't it just be like a Fantastic Beast or a magical beast hunter, like a group of magical poachers that are going and trying to capture these, and it's just Scamander going off and trying to, rescue animals and save them from these evil poachers. See, that was easy. I literally came up with that right now while we were talking about it. Like, why are we redoing things that already exist and have existed for less than 20 years? Like, we're coming up on the time that Star Wars is going to be redone. Like, there's already talks about it, about basically redoing the Star Wars universe, more specifically the last 6 movies. This is, I guess the 3 movies. So it's already been talked about. It's already in discussions about people going off and basically redoing the Star Wars universe. And I think, listen, I love Star Wars. I love all the original movies, but I'm okay with a reboot of them. I'm okay with a remake. I'm okay with the spin-off movies because it's been 50 years, man, since Star Wars came out. Like, it's time. It is time for Star Wars to have its comeuppance and make its new stuff. I think it's done a really great job with The Mandalorian. I'm very excited for the Boba Fett spin-off and the Obi-Wan spin-off. Like, all of those things are really great, and I love that, but it's still very central to the Skywalker world. And there's just so much stories and lore. Outside of just the actual Star Wars novels and video games, there's so much fan content out there and lore deep dives on like Wikipedia and stuff like that they could just pick from that and be like, we're just going to tell the story of this thing, and they could do it. But back to Harry Potter. So the other thing about Harry Potter is obviously it's mired with controversy because of J.K. Rowling and everything that she has said recently about trans activism. And, it's a shame that this is the case. But Harry Potter still exists. Like, Daniel Radcliffe is still in his 20s. Like, he just was the character. Like, Mark Hamill is in his 60s now, Like, James Earl Jones is in his, 80s or 90s. Like, Harrison Ford is basically 130 at this point. We're well past the Star Wars age, but, Harry Potter's still very fresh. The main characters still look like the characters, and it wasn't like these are low-budget things that somebody was like, oh, somebody made this really low-budget film, and now we're going to basically grab it and make a better, bigger budget version of it, which would be fine too. That happens all the time. Small budget films get made, a big studio picks it up, throws a bunch of money at it, expands the universe and makes it better. That's not even the case. Harry Potter was one of the largest films at the time. I mean, it made billions of dollars within the first couple of weeks, and that was not that long ago. 21-year-olds were around when Harry Potter was out. I think the remake No. Expanding the universe, yes, long overdue, in a proper way. So that's my vote. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think about a Harry Potter live action series, specifically going through the series of the original 7 books? What do you think? Is it valid? Should people still be wanting it? Am I wrong for thinking that this is not the case? Well, I guess it's not wrong because it's just an opinion. But what is your opinion on this? Tweet at me. You can send a message to the Michael Fight on Twitter, Michael Fight on Instagram, but of course head over to nightshiftradio.com for more information and a contact form if you want to chat with me. And of course, there's also a really great thing. We have a Patreon now for Night Shift Radio. Really awesome, supports all of the shows on our network, including some of our non-podcast shows. I urge you to check it out and subscribe if that is the thing you're into. You'll get access to a bunch of episodes early, a lot of bonus content, and behind-the-scenes looks at some of our shows that are in pre-production, the 2 shows that are not podcasts. So definitely check that out if you're interested. We would absolutely appreciate your support. So thanks a lot for joining me, everyone, and we will see you on Friday for our weekly recap.